Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Casey Higgs. I will be the moderator for today's webinar, Maintaining Profitability in the Digital Age, Why E-Commerce is Only Part of the Answer. So today we will be recording this webinar, and the recorded content will be shared with all of you afterwards. For an optimal webinar experience, we've muted all participant lines. However, we do encourage questions. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to type them into the Zoom chat or Q&A panel, and we'll do our best to answer those questions at the end of the presentation during a Q&A session. It's now my pleasure to welcome today's presenters. We've got Jimmy Richburg, Director of Client Success here at Rix, and Adam White, owner at Running Central in Peoria, Illinois. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so we won't take too long on the housekeeping items. I just wanted to let everyone know we will be live tweeting throughout the webinar today. So feel free to join in the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #PeoplePolicy and tag us at Rix Software. In fact, if you do so, tag us on Twitter at Rix Software using the hashtag #PeoplePolicy and talk about the webinar in your post. We'll follow up by sending you a $5 Starbucks gift card. All right, so before I hand over the mic to Jimmy and Adam here, I would like to take a quick poll. And this is going to give us all a better understanding of who's participating today in the webinar and what your greatest challenges are in terms of your staff. So if you wouldn't mind answering the question, which of the following is your biggest people problem? We definitely appreciate it. Is it bad performance, maybe high turnover, training issues, or theft? And we'll just wait a few more seconds for everyone to respond. It looks like the majority of you have responded, and training is over half of the biggest challenges out there for everyone in terms of people. Training, yep, just over 50%, and then bad performance and turnover are each in maybe 25% of those that are attending out there today. So thank you all for your feedback there. Definitely appreciate that. Okay, so Jimmy, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Casey. So as the title of the webinar describes, the focus here is really talking about while e-commerce is not the only answer in terms of continuing to grow as a retailer. E-commerce is continuing to grow year over year, usually a 5 to 10% increase in market share, and by the end of 2018 should be about 20% of all retail sales. But the narrative that e-commerce is going to be the death of brick and mortar is definitely exaggerated. It certainly doesn't mean that everyone needs to abandon the brick and mortar model and move to e-com, because the brick and mortar in-store is still very much alive and is going to continue to grow. Because as of 2017, e-com sales only accounted for about 8.5% of total retail sales across the country. So a lot of the shopping that is still happening in store. And you can kind of see here in this chart kind of a breakout of US adults who are shopping online and kind of how frequently they're doing it. And then also kind of what the important factors are when they're going to make a purchase. So, as a brick and mortar retailer, what does that mean? How should you be thinking about kind of the change that's happening in the marketplace? And that's kind of what we'll focus on here today. Essentially, what's happening now is that customer expectation for the in-store experience is changing, very drastically. They expect a lot more. They expect it to be very personalized, and be able to kind of get a different level of service than they've ever received before, especially shopping in a specialty type of retailer. So, as a brick and mortar retailer, the most important thing you can do right now, outside of some type of e-commerce, is investing in your in-store experience and matching kind of the new customer expectations.
but how?
So you want to be able to deliver on kind of an experience that the shoppers are expecting now. Like I said, they want it to be very personal. They want the staff to not only just be able to answer their questions, but be true experts in the products that they're interested in purchasing, and then kind of whatever type of experience you're selling. So if that's run specialty or boutique, being able to kind of speak to what it is that what they want out of that experience. And one of the best ways to do this is by just investing in the people you have working in your store. They're going to be the people that represent your brand and really drive the experience for your customers in the store. So if you are putting in the time and the training to get them to kind of fully embody what it is that you want your customers to experience, it's going to be reflected in their interactions with customers, and they're going to get that experience that they're looking for. So the result of doing that, obviously you have if the people that are working for you feel valued and they believe in your brand and the experience of delivering, you're going to have an easier time retaining them. They're going to be extremely engaged. So they're going to be, kind of very empowered when talking to your customers and feeling confident about talking about the product and delivering on the experience. Overall, they're just going to produce kind of a better experience for your customers and continue to have them come back and be loyal to your brand. So one example to talk about is kind of a look at the Best Buy versus the Apple model. And let's say if I'm going to go and buy an iPhone and I go to Best Buy, I have kind of a general idea of what my experience is going to be. It's going to be very much transactional. I'm going to go, I may have a few questions for this individual. Mind you, their job is to not only be able to know a few things about the iPhone, but every other phone that Best Buy is going to carry. So they kind of have a limited amount of knowledge about a wide range of product. Versus when I go into Apple, of course, the goal for them is to sell to me as well. However, the product is kind of part of the overall experience when you walk in Apple. I go in there, I expect them to be able to answer any question I might have about any of their products. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be true product experts, and they fully embody everything that Apple wants you to feel when you walk in the store. So from the moment you walk in the door, you're kind of already a part of the experience for Apple, interacting with the staff, being able to interact with the product the way that they have it. That all blends into kind of driving more people back in, and why the brick and mortar model has been so successful for them over the past several years. So, the big question is kind of where do you start in terms of being able to change the experience and kind of drive the staff and the people that work for you to kind of fully embody the brand and deliver on that experience. The big thing is starting off by just setting higher standards and hiring the right people. So you want to make sure that the people that you are bringing in are going to be able to deliver on your expectations and on the experience that the customer is looking for. So with that, I'll turn it to Adam to talk a little bit about how they go through this process of running Central and how it kind of helps affect the culture of his brand.
Thanks, Jimmy. Without question, you got to have the right team. When I came into this business, I started operating under the adage of slow to hire, quick to fire. But one of the things that I found that in the challenges of our growth and stabilization inside of our business was that it was very challenging for me to evaluate the long-term qualifications, the aptitude of an individual based on resume and even an application process. And I really had to rely more on their fundamental attitude, which I think is a little bit more timeless and transcends some work experience that one might bring to the table when we selected new team members, because it's attitude before aptitude. And if I've got a solid training process and the attitude is in line, then I think that we should be able to train a lot more people to do what we do. So we have migrated to more of always hiring. That hiring is always out there. And if you have some of these basic qualifications, then I'm willing to bring you onto the team and give it a go. But we're very, very transparent in the expectations that we have of any new team member. And we try to make it very clear as to the environment that they will be entering. I do the job interviews personally myself. I think that ownership establishes the culture of the business, and I think it's very important for ownership to communicate what the expectations are of new team members, because ultimately it's a lot of the ownership who has to make tough decisions down the road as to what the face of the team needs to look like and whether or not team members are working out or not. So I think that establishing that from the beginning is very beneficial, and at least it has been beneficial for us at Running Central. Setting the high standards. You've got to define your culture. You've got to set expectations. One of the things that I say is expectations are opportunities for disappointment. And you have to, I try to be very, very clear with every team member, as I said before, as to the environment and the expectations that they are entering. We've worked hard to build our culture internally the way it is, because it's our internal culture that allows us to provide and share what happens from within, to share that to the individuals who come inside our four walls, our customers. With that, I think that I would ask any store owner to tell me what your mission statement is. What is your mission and vision? Does everyone on your team know by heart your mission statement? Can they recite that for you? Does then inside of your training process, does everything that you do, although why you ask people to do what they do and for whom they do it, can you bring that full circle back to your mission and vision? And if you can't, then I think that those are areas that you have to look at those internal systems and processes and ask yourself if they need to be adapted or not. Because if everything that you do cannot come full circle and be explained how that fulfills your mission and vision in a clear, succinct fashion, it's opportunities to break down. And that's what it is when you go through training, and all of us have our own uniquenesses as to how we like to deliver our systems and processes to provide an extraordinary customer experience. Those are rules. Those are your internal protocols that you each have as managers, as store owners. And I think that we have to remember when we're dealing with human beings that rules without relationships creates the opportunity for rebellion. Our team are human beings. They have the opportunity. They need to have a relationship. And I think that above and beyond a personal relationship that they might have with an individual owner, their managers, their shift leaders, their supervisors, etc., they need to have an intimate relationship with your mission and vision. Because if they do not, and they don't believe that in their heart of hearts, then all of the rules, the hows, the whys, and the whats that you're asking everybody to do throughout the day is going to be built on an empty core. And that creates problems. So we do paid training for everybody. Our training process is 80 to 120 hours that we do. We then try to offer a lot of additional benefits for people who work inside the store, such as we've extended our team discount to all of their immediate family, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, brothers, sisters, etc., because it is retail when the day is done. And it's not lawyers' wages. It's not doctors' wages. And how can we continue to, if I'm going to make an investment in training somebody and I want them to stay as long as I can, but I can't control the world around us and where people are going, I want to make it as financially rewarding as possible. And that we found to be, we can make a bigger impact with what we can do by offsetting expenses in people's day-to-day lives than the direct money that we're putting in their pocket in the form of a paycheck. It also does great by putting Pied Pipers out there inside of our respective community, because what's better than my one team member going out and sporting Running Central gear and talking about all of that? why not extend that to their family of 3, 4, 5, or 6 and increase those Pied Pipers exponentially? It's really, we found to be a very good investment on our part. So those are some of the things that we try to do. The data, using data to engage and incentivize your people. We use our data on a regular basis to help me and my leaders. We manage inanimate objects and we lead human beings, but I use that data to be able to evaluate whether or not my team, individually and collectively as a whole, understands why I'm asking them to do what we're doing. Sock to shoe ratios, insole to shoe ratios, bra to women's shoe ratios. What are our apparel ratios? What are we doing from a PT, a trigger point, or like product to shoe type ratios? Because I believe that if one of my team members understands and believes in the mission and vision, if I can assume that to be true, then they have the internal desire to be able to present more solutions to people. And if they are not presenting those solutions to people, then that can be revealed in the form of these data reports. See, our job at Running Central, I tell all of our team, is with every human being who comes through the door, with kindness, care, concern, and compassion, they are to thoughtfully engage with that human being to uncover his or her needs. And then with all of their knowledge that they have of the solutions that are offered inside of our store, to softly lay solutions at the customer's feet. The data helps me because I believe that it's up to my leaders to get the team to buy into the mission and vision. So if we've gotten to this point that I'm evaluating data, I think that the team member has already gotten a big check mark by that box. Therefore, then if I'm looking at the data and we're not getting necessarily the results that I would like to be getting, then I believe that links back to how do we continue to train that individual or individuals about what it is that we're looking for. And the more that our team's able to do this, I think that it translates to returning customers because you're able to provide a more magical experience. So that is... that's what we really try to do. And then when we share the data and we look at it internally, and the more transparent that I've shared this data with our vendors, it has definitely opened their aptitude, increased their aptitude to want to do more with strategic partnerships with our store. It's got to be a two-way street. And that data helps us internally with our team, and it definitely helps us externally with vendor partnerships that we are currently trying to cultivate and we want to further establish down the road.
And Adam, I know you and I have had a chance to talk about this a lot in the past, and I think one important thing I'll add on to this is the use of data, especially inside the retail environment, is not going away anytime soon. So the more ways you can find to utilize it, the better. And second, it's pretty easy to look at data as like kind of a disciplinary mechanism, where if someone's not meeting a certain ratio or a certain sales amount, there's X consequences. But the better approach is to say, hey, if you're not meeting this, maybe there's just some additional training needed, or using it as a tool to kind of identify where people have an opportunity to improve, pairing them with people who are doing well in certain areas, and kind of using it more as as a way to identify opportunities than anything else.
Absolutely. We use a productivity report that shows every individual's overarching productivity in these various categories that I mentioned. And we post this publicly for the team to see. And to Jimmy's point, data can be used from a variety of different standpoints. It's how the leadership and what's the internal culture. And we use those reports and that data to rise the tide. When the tide rises, all ships float. And that's what we try to do, is create those opportunities to learn from each other, hone in on individuals who are really doing well, identify those individuals, and allow them to be the beacons and the rays of light to inspire other team members, so that, you know, if you have a healthy culture, I believe that human beings they aspire to be like those individuals who stand out in a good way. So why not make it very clear about your respective team members who are doing extraordinary things, and let the rest of the team identify that at the same time, and aspire to be more like those leaders that you have. I say we're in the business of raising eagles, and eagles got to fly. So don't put a lid on them. Let them soar.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So what we have here is just kind of like a quick snapshot of one of these reports that Adam and Running Central use to kind of help you gain insight into how your employees are performing. Different types of metrics you can evaluate, everything from sales per hour to how many multi-sale items they have per ticket. And again, a great way to identify whether there's people who are succeeding in certain areas and people who have an opportunity to improve in certain areas, and using that information too as a opportunity for education, help improve the experience for everybody, and pairing up your strong employees in a specific area with some of the employees who are weaker in a certain area who are not performing where you'd like them to be. So there's different ways that you can utilize it, and it really all depends on kind of what's going to work best for you, your culture, and kind of the experience that you're trying to drive in your store. And Adam, if you just want to touch on kind of some of the results you've seen from taking the approach you have from a training and a culture standpoint.
You've got. I think that we have a very confident team member, team as a whole, individually and collectively as a whole, and that provides an extraordinary experience. Customers have to choose where they want to go and shop. I agree with you, and I don't think that brick and mortar is going away. I just think that the level of discretion that the consumer operates with today and going forward as to where they're going to go to brick and mortar to spend their dollars, is that level of discretion and choice is going to be placed under higher levels of scrutiny. So those of us who can meet those human fulfillment needs are going to be in a better position. And, we as an industry have heard that 75% of the people who buy their first pair of shoes in a brick and mortar specialty run store, 75% of them buy their second, third pair online. So what's the window that we're gauging customer coming back in? Every time I run this report, when I look at our customer drift, we tend to see about 50% of our customers returning every 18 months. Now, I understand that that's still not, we would all like that number to be better, but if the industry average is 75% and we are doing 33% better than the industry average, I think that there's something to take note of as far as that goes. And then we talked about the way we influence our benefit structure, that expanding that employee benefit plan to the immediate family. We're definitely getting more organic Pied Pipers influencers inside of our community. It's, as I said, I'm in the business of raising eagles, and eagles do have to fly. I know that it's always hard as an owner of a business when you invest a lot in a great team member and they develop, that it's scary to accept the fact that they might want additional challenges beyond what we can provide for them inside of our retail store. I know that's the case for me. But if I really truly believe that in what we are doing inside of Running Central, and I think that if our greatest team members do choose to go on to the vendor side, that the stronger the vendors are, the stronger the industry is. The stronger the industry is, the better off Running Central is. And so it's a privilege and honor for me to have team members go on to that vendor side. And in the 10 years that I've had the privilege of doing this, we have now well over a dozen of our team members on the vendor side in very influential positions. So I think that's a testament to what it is that we're doing inside of Running Central, building our culture, our training process, and how we go about operating for these individuals on a regular basis to spread their wings and find themselves further inside of our industry.
And I think, Adam, the effect that that's had is kind of shown with you guys. As you can see, you have been awarded and recognized for that experience you provide several times. So I think it's great to be able to see kind of the results of putting in that effort. So to kind of summarize everything that we've talked about today, what I would say is that the name of the game is changing, and it's no longer in retail where it's a race to the bottom and the lowest price is going to win. The customer standards are higher than ever. They have access to more information than they've ever had before. And really who's going to win out is who has the best products, the best service, and overall the best experience. That is how you win in retail today and moving forward. So in improving that experience, absolutely start with your people. You want to set the high standards, and you want to find a way to incentivize and engage them. As Adam says, they're people and they need to fully embody everything that you want your brand to represent. You want them to be confident, and that's going to be reflected in how they interact with customers. And then in turn, the customer is going to have a tremendous experience and continue to come back and talk about the experience that they had.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. That was excellent. And we do still have a few minutes for questions. If there are any of those out there that would like to ask some questions, please do input those into your Zoom Q&A panel now. Let's see what ones we've got already from the audience. Let's see, it looks like we've got one. It's more directed towards Adam about the style of the training that you do with your employees and what formats, what training format you use to engage your employees.
Yeah, so our training format is, I have a lot of different individuals who are capable of training. So over the course of the approximate 80 hours, we do have a training manual, and we have steps that we want to focus on into how the information builds upon itself. But it also has to ebb and flow because things that give the best context are the customers who we're working with. So we have to be able to pivot. But the first 40 hours of training, the trainee is the trainer's shadow. They're connected to a quote unquote leash, eyes open, ears open, and you follow that. The trainee follows the trainer around to absorb as much as possible. And then when you're in the back, naturally grabbing shoes, doing other things, then that's the time to be explaining. But it's eyes and ears open. Hours 41 to 60 is the trainer is shadowing the trainee. We're right there alongside, and that trainee is starting to go through the fit processes themselves, but they definitely have the trainer standing right over their shoulder. Hour 61 to 80 is a looser shadow of the trainer over the trainee. Trainer might be waiting on their own customer, and sitting right next to them now, the trainee is working on their own customer. But they still have that training wheel. They have that safety net right along their side to be able, so that the trainer, say eyes and ears on a swivel the whole time. We do that, supposed to do that all the time. But that way that trainer's right there in earshot, making sure that if there are any stumbles, any hurdles, that we're there to be able to help them through that. Make sure that everything is going smooth from the customer's perspective. But we have to have that gradual process of letting the individual work their way to the end of the nest and taking that first leap. So that's kind of how we go through it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Our second question comes from another Adam, and Adam asks about the salesperson analysis report. And if you use a calculated ticket count, do you have a goal for items per ticket?
Yeah, I sure do. The store goal is 3. I try not to talk about average ticket sale. I tell the team 3 is 3. We talk about the power of 3 and a lot of different things. Someone comes in, what do all men need who are trying to run? They need shoes, they need socks, they need a good pair of shorts. What do all women need? They need shoes, they need socks, and they need a properly fitted sports bra. So we have the, socks, buy 3, get 1 free. Everything kind of starts ringing around to 3. So I've adopted that IPT, UPT of 3, I tell the team that 3 might be, maybe the customer comes in and they have a great pair of shoes. Maybe they don't need running shoes at all. They hate running. They're a soccer player and they only want to be in cleats. Maybe their 3 is a footbed, a pair of compression socks, and, a heel cup. I mean, maybe it's the 70-year-old woman who wants to wear her sash shoes, and really what she needs is a bunion guard, a nice pair of socks, and something else for the corn on her foot. It doesn't have to be an average ticket sale of $125. I say those figures will take care of themselves. When we focus on 3, we're uncovering more needs and we're presenting more solutions. And I believe that the majority of our customers did not find themselves walking through the doors of Running Central by accident, that they have needs, but they don't always necessarily know the needs that might help them improve their experience in this journey called life, one step at a time. That's our mission. It's our job, therefore, to uncover that and to present those solutions to the customer in an understandable fashion. And when we do so, 3 takes care of itself.
That's a great example. Thank you, Adam. A great example, too, of exactly why the in-store experience is that much more beneficial when you invest in your people, because that's what they can't get online. So our final question comes from Bert, and Bert asks about structuring commission. When you structure commission on sales, is it for all staff, being both full-time and part-time, or is it just one of those groups?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're all a team, and whether you work 10 hours a week or whether you work 40 hours a week, we all should have the opportunity for the same commission. Now, that being said, I think that there's the opportunity to carve out, if there's an extraordinary person that you want to do a little bit more for because they really, really, really outproduce everybody else, that gives you the gray area to do so. But we do it all the same for everybody, because if I come in, and I used to have it tiered based on hours per week. But what I found, and why I switched that, was some of my team members, for example, who had worked full-time, and then they went on to another level of schooling, or they had an internship, and they could only come in for a lesser number of hours a week. Some of those individuals, when I looked at what they produced per hour, were my strongest team members. So suddenly they found themselves, to really no fault of their own, being penalized because they were working 12 hours a week. They'd come in and work Saturday, the day that busiest day of the week, and a weekday night, which was a tremendous benefit, but they weren't hitting certain tiers of hours to qualify for higher levels of commission. And so they were almost being punished by that. Meanwhile, everything all being the same, it didn't seem right when they could just as easily say, well, I don't need to come in and help you out on a Saturday. So I restructured it, and I think it works better that way.
Awesome. I appreciate you expounding there. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. If anyone here would like to learn more, whether you're already a RIX client or not, we're more than happy to continue the conversation. Just go ahead and follow that link there. And I will then leave it to Jimmy and Adam to, thank you both for joining us here today, and leave it to you to wrap anything up.
Thank you, guys. I would just say, if anyone wants to talk any further, has any other questions, I know when it comes to team members, training, all these things, we could talk for hours and hours about it. Feel free to email me at adam@runningscentral.com, and we can arrange a time to have a phone conversation. And as much as anything, I'd love to pick your brains as to how you do what you do, and the results that you guys get, because I learn from all of you as much as anything.
That's incredibly generous of you, Adam. Thank you so much. We also have a few additional resources here on this final slide. Once again, this deck will be made available to everyone after we wrap up this recording. So thank you all for joining us, and have a great day.